Beaming Out, written by Cameron Rogowski. Beaming Out was written in Elgin, Texas, while listening to State Champs, the self-titled album by State Champs. Chapter 1. The grass had started to go dormant in the strangest town in all of Texas. St. Farr stood out among all other locations in the Lone Star State, at least to those who knew anything about it. Back before the United States warred for these great empty plains, St. Farr was nothing more than dirt and overgrown weeds. The native people wanted nothing to do with it. There was no wildlife, no easily accessible water, no reason to stop and establish a civilization. The Mexicans came to a similar conclusion, seeing the area as high-risk, low-reward proposition that amounted to nothing more than a complete waste of time. Eventually, in the mid-1800s, Texas officially became the 28th state in this blessed union. Still, there was no reason to venture into the semi-arid slice south of Austin. At some point throughout the not-so-great history of St. Farr, a wagon train had reached the end of their rope when it came to the punishment on the Great Plains. It was a good call. The desert of West Texas would be more difficult to cross than a combination of all the miles that they had previously trekked. That even included when they lost a month's supplies as they crossed the Brazos River. Although crossing West Texas would likely have been the death of them, spending the rest of their lives in St. Farr was similarly upsetting, mostly mentally. In all of St. Farr's history, there was never anything to do. Those pioneer families settled and started building all the essentials of an American town. A general store, a bank, a bar, and a hotel were erected first. Over the decades, the town transformed slightly to meet the new needs of those citizens who were stuck in St. Farr. The town continued to grow as families grew, and teens who left town for college dragged unsuspecting victims back to St. Farr just for a few years. Those few years turned into a lifetime, and the outsiders found themselves on their deathbed, accepting that they had assimilated into St. Farr. The townsfolk dug out a lake to help secure the future of the town. The lake slowly filled over several years with a combination of rainfall and dirty irrigation water diverted from a diverted flow of a diverted flow. Lake Farr was a point of pride for the town. Wildlife started to arrive from the surrounding, more established areas of Texas, and soon the lake was full of life. First, there were snakes and lizards. Coyotes showed up when the deer came. Frogs and fish seemed to spontaneously appear in and around the lake water. Ducks arrived and started to lay eggs in muddy nests across the shore. Bugs became a real issue for casual swimmers. These descendants of long-suffering explorers who had had enough now created something even nature itself approved of. In 1912, a collective trauma rocked the small town when the unstoppable force of nature and man collided. A lone flamingo arrived in Lake Farr. Bucky Jones, the youngest of the Jones boys, was the first to see it standing near the shore. He told all his friends in town. Those friends told their families, and before long the flamingo had a daily audience of men, women, and children. No one knew where it had come from. The prevailing theory was that it had gotten lost while migrating and stopped in Lake Farr, because, like the town's forefathers, continuing to travel beyond this point was a bridge too far. Although they didn't have the authority to officially name the flamingo, he had a flamingo family somewhere after all. The citizens of St. Farr lovingly referred to the pink fascination as Ferris the Flamingo. After a few weeks, Borland Young shot the bird while duck hunting. St. Farr never forgave Borland for destroying their symbol of hope. Bizarre handmade statues and effigies of Ferris now dotted the town in remembrance of that one something exciting that happened in St. Farr. When one is grieving, the best antidote is getting lost in your work. The town continued to grow and naturally split into three sections: the town square, Old Town, and the outskirts. The town square is where all the local businesses in dark brick buildings created a literal square around a weed-filled 50 by 50 yard square of open land. When the town first started to actually resemble an American community, most of the citizens built their homes a block or two away from the town square. Those homes made up Old Town. When someone in St. Farr talked about the outskirts, they were talking about the rural farms, ranches, and open land around their accompanying homes. As time continued to pass, the locals all started to focus their attention on creating things that citizens of St. Farr desperately needed. They built a school in the 1920s, once families became more common and the parents needed something to occupy their children while they worked the fields and drove cattle. The great Gus Grandpa William built the first gas station in St. Farr during the 1960s, once cars became common in the area. By the 1990s, the town square consisted of several essentials for modern life, but not a single form of entertainment. All that changed when Pat Biederman graduated high school and used a federal grant to build the radio station in St. Farr, KOBO.